Hello and welcome to Real PR with me, Fiona Scott. I hope you're having a good day, a good week, a good month. Well, joining me today is a young man I met at a networking group recently. His business is quite new, so I thought it'd be interesting to chat to him and some of the sort of highs and lows of starting out in business. So let's get into it. Harvey, welcome. Introduce yourself and tell people what you do.
Amazing. So I'm Harvey Boddy. I'm the founder of HGP Property Deals. Me and my business partner, Jackie Collier, we help people buy rundown properties. We do them up and supply them all to social housing. We base our properties in Bradford and Leeds. And she's a multi-award winning property investor. And I'm trying to learn my tips and tricks from her and see if I can make an impact on the world as she has.
Now, you're quite young, Harvey, so tell us how old you are and how you got into all of this.
So I'm 24. I've been interested in property in the last 4 years. It sparked when I went to a property networking group and just got talking to landlords and people and realised there was a gap, and the gap was social housing. Everyone was talking about buy-to-lets and student accommodation and all that stuff, and then there wasn't many people talking about social housing. I thought, well, hold on a sec, there's a big gap there. There's 1.2 million people currently on the waiting list, and 150,000 of them being children. I was like, is there anyone out there doing anything about this, or is it just on the back burner, no one's doing much? So I looked into it and then found out there are some good people out there doing it, and that's where I met Jackie and educated myself. Went and done a property course for 2 years, and then decided to open up my own business and try and help the community myself.
Okay, let's talk about social housing. So when I was growing up, and I'm a lot older than you, it was called council housing. So let's be really clear. What do you mean by social housing?
So for me, social housing is any housing that helps vulnerable people. So that being people with disabilities, lower income, people in divorces can now be on social housing. It's a broad statement, but normally people who are a little bit less fortunate or have a disability. So for me, when I was growing up, we were in social housing, and we were in social housing because my dad had a stroke, and we lost a house that we did own, and then a lot of things happened, and we ended up going for hostel, social housing, and the understanding and realization of having a place you can call home meant a lot for us, and we were grateful. It wasn't a perfect place, but it was a place where we could rebuild as a family and grow. So for me, that's what I see social housing as a building, a place where you can call home, which is secure enough and right for what you need it for.
Okay, so you brushed over that quite quickly. So do I take from that unfortunate situation that hit your family? How old were you, and were you then technically, I guess you were homeless or vulnerably housed at that time?
Yeah, so I was probably about 8 or 9, I believe. It was a long time ago, and yeah, we were when we were in the hostels, we were technically rendered homeless, and it was a rough time for my family. I come from a family of 4, older brother and 2 younger sisters, and yeah, it was a bit rough at times. But getting a property which was under social housing did then mean we could grow and expand the family again, and it was really important. Just bringing friends back from school, or just having people around for coffee. When you're in like a hostel, it's not the right environment. We had fire alarms going off every other night. We had people doing drugs and smoking, and it just wasn't the right environment for any family to really live in. So the fact that we then eventually got a house that was under social housing meant we could expand as a family again.
So talk to me, if you think back to that time, what kind of emotions as a child did you feel around that? Was there any feeling sort of shame or embarrassment around that?
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing telling, the fact that people had their own views and opinion on social housing. They always say, "Oh, council estates," or you're in social housing, and all that stuff. So it was embarrassing, but then when later on in life, I've realised how important it is. So for me, it's the fact that now looking back at it, I see it as such a good thing that we had the privilege to have a place to call home, compared to being homeless still in a hostel. Because that wasn't particularly nice place to be in. It was, struggling times. I know it divided us as a family a little bit. My brother's got ADHD and problems, and two younger sisters. It's just people we were mixing with, and jumping from hostel to hostel because a family of four we were sharing. I think it was a 2-bedroom hostel, and it's just what we could fit in, what they had at the time. So yeah, it was stressful, and something that I can reflect on now as turning a negative into a positive.
Okay, so let's roll forward to your business. Explain if how does the model work so that it works for you in this business. I'm not sure whether it's a sort of social project or it actually makes you money. How does it work for you, and how does it work for the tenant?
Okay, so what we do is we go out and we find investors, any business owners, anyone with a bit of capital that they want to make some money on. We offer them a return on their investment depending on how much they invest and how long they invest for, typically ranging from 4 to 9%. We use that money to then go out and buy rundown properties. We do those properties up to a high standard, making sure they got disability access, making sure they're right for the tenant we're trying to put into the property. Once the property is all done up, we then go out and go to some private social housing companies and say to them, right, we've got a lovely property. Would you like to come and have a look at it? They say yes, and then they find us a tenant. Tenants then go in, we meet the tenants, and then the private social housing companies then supply us with a fixed rent, which we get paid. They also manage the properties for us, so it's a bit more hands-off for us because I'm obviously from Bath area. The properties are up in Bradford and Leeds. We need that security of, they're being looked after, and I don't have to drive up to Leeds if the boiler breaks. But also making sure the property is good enough and up to that standard that the tenants are not going to destroy it and they're happy with it. So that's what we do. And then what we do once we finish that and got the tenant in is we then remortgage the property. We normally buy them all in cash, and then we take out 75% of the value of the property, and then we use that money to pay back our investors and then go again on the next project, whether that's money for a refurb or legal bills. And we just repeat that process is what we try to do.
And are you hoping to do that with some properties down south, closer to where you live?
The goal would be to do that. Obviously, house prices are through the roof down south. There's properties I've been looking at with Jackie that are, 130,000 for a semi-detached 3-bed house in Bradford, and you can get half a parking space in Bath for that price. So it is something I'd love to do, and I'd love to do it in my hometown of Frome. But it's just, again, the property prices and trying to fit in the social housing areas, because a lot of them are new build council houses projects, which are, they're just building up in Frome and the surrounding area. So, yeah.
How do you think this will work, Harvey, if the current government or any future government starts to actually invest in social housing again, or council housing as I thought of it? I mean, how will that model work? Or do you think their goal is just unrealistic?
So I think it is totally unrealistic. They've always, I'm pretty sure, have said that they're going to do more social housing, more council housing, and they bump out a massive number, and it makes everyone go, oh, great, they're going to do something, and then they don't. So that 1.2 million people, that's in perspective the whole of Birmingham. So there's a shortage of homes of the whole of Birmingham, and I just don't see any government just all of a sudden gonna provide that. So I think it's important that landlords out there start realizing actually it's not about how much rent you can charge. It's not about the return you get. As long as you're doing good and you're getting some money from it, why isn't more people doing it? So for me, it is. Hopefully, I'll just continue doing it to the point where it would be nice the government does something, but it doesn't bother me if they don't. It doesn't bother me if they do, because I know I'm doing something about it.
I have met landlords. I've met some great ones. I've met some that are not so great, and that they see constant rent rises as an opportunity for making more money. I did challenge one about this once, because it's my children that are going to struggle to get on the property ladder at all. I mean, you must meet people like that if you're moving in property circles. How do you deal with someone like that?
So there are many landlords that are, very money orientated. And for me, it's just making sure when people find a landlord and get a property that they're renting, they make sure they actually do their checks on the landlord themselves, find out the type of person they are, make sure they do their due diligence on them. Because there's a lot of accidental landlords out there that don't actually want to be landlord. They've just inherited properties or ended up with the properties. And then you've got, obviously, I say the business landlords that are in it for the money. And, you know, for me, it's finding the right landlord for you. A lot of people have pets or nowadays need pets for disabilities and stuff. And a lot of landlords don't allow pets. So, for us, our property, we try and make sure they're as pet friendly as possible because we know people like pets, people need pets. So it's always difficult because I don't like talking harshly about landlords because I understand why they do it. But I also understand that there are people out there in need of homes, and there's people who are low on income, short on money with all the price rises going up and everything. That they're just greedy and they're taking as much as they can. If there's 50p going, they'll take the 50p, and people can't afford it, and then people get into debt. They lose the property or they become homeless, and it just leads into other issues, and it's not needed. So I would say do your due diligence on the landlord themselves because they do it on you. They make sure you're right for their property, so why shouldn't you do it on them?
So I'm really picking up from you that there's a two-way street here for ethical landlords to engage with couples that in the old days when I was growing up, they would be on a council house list.
Yeah, exactly. So the list is it's a massive list, and trying to find, I I see it as trying to give people a chance. Not everyone's going to destroy your property. Not everyone's gonna knock a wall down or do anything like that. They do just want the privilege of having a place to call home. And you do get the odd couple of people that will do some stuff to the property and damage it, but most of the time it is just people who are struggling. They need a place, they need somewhere to call home so they can grow again. And having a good landlord that offers people that would be so much more beneficial than them being shafted by a landlord charging them too much rent or saying they can't do this or they can't do that. Where, to be honest, as long as they're making some money and doing some good, why can't people have more freedom?
Okay, so let's talk about would-be landlords or someone who's got a lump sum. What kind of investment is a sort of starting point for someone like you to have a serious conversation with them?
So our investments we range from £10,000 to £250,000. All the way we look at it, every investor helps. Whether it's a little bit of money for a refurb or money to get a property. So for us, we're looking at buying properties in cash in the £80,000 to £100,000 mark. Obviously, that could come with one investor, could come with three investors. And then the terms is 1 to 5 years. Normally, we can go longer, but that's something we would discuss with the people investing. And yeah, so then again, we just sit down with them, work out what they want from it, because obviously they want to make money. That's the whole point. Is they're making money, we're doing the good, and they're also helping towards doing the good. So we then go out and we find potential investors, normally business owners, and we show them a proposal. We go, this is what we can offer you. Does this align with what you're looking for? And if it does, then great, we can go ahead and then we start the process. If not, then we can either relook at what they're actually after, or we just say, sorry, the opportunity isn't right for you, and then go out and find someone else.
And how do you source properties then? What's the process for that, Harvey?
So there's a group, our little team up in Bradford. We've got some property sources. We've got a little legal team, and we've got people that help with the refurbishment side of it. So we go out and find the investors. We then get them on board, get them on the onboarding process, and then we go out and say, right, this is how much money we've got, 80,000. We want a property, or we would like you to find a property, which is around 60k with a refurb, 80k, that we can then remortgage at around 90 to £100,000. And then we give that to the team. They go out, they find a property, they send us the details, and then we view it, put in the offers, and away we go from there. So it's a good little process, and we try and do as much of it in-house as possible.
Because I'm thinking, Harvey, if you think about it, I mean, those numbers you're quoting at me compared to the south of England, Bath, Bristol, even Frome where you live, or even Swindon where I live, those numbers sound quite low.
Yeah. Again, it just goes to show that, the property is the investment area. That's why I like Leeds and Bradford. It's up and coming. Leeds got £22 million worth of regeneration going on. That's the biggest in Europe at the moment. And then we've got Bradford, which is won City of Culture 2025, and that's bringing house prices up there. It's bringing people to the city, and they are just lovely places. I don't know if you've ever been to.
I've been to both.
When I go out there, I love it. It is, a change of scenery, and it is up and coming. So for me and the people I work with, we know that that's an area that is going to boom. Manchester had their boom, Liverpool's had their boom. Leeds is the next place, so that's why we're investing there.
And what about you? What's your personal goals then, Harvey?
So my personal goals, I would love to help in the next 5 years around 250 families get properties, whether that's a family of 3, 4, 2, whoever it is. I'd like to get 250 properties and help 250 families get a place to call home. That's where my goal is. And just continue spreading the word of social housing, what we do, why we do it, and how people can benefit, i.e. making money, but also do good. You get people investing in crypto and then they lose all their money, and then you get people investing in stocks, and then, you can lose their stocks. I say, and it's really cheesy, that property is as safe as houses. Your money is safe. It's tied into a property, a thing you can see, a thing you can go and touch, and if worst case scenario, you can sell and get your money back. So for me, it's making sure I continue on with the people I know doing good and helping families in need. That's where I want to push the business.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a PR question now, but don't worry, it's not going to be hard.
No worries.
How do you get visible? How do you get the word out there about you and what you're doing?
So I'm not going to say it hasn't been challenging, but it has been challenging. So I do a lot of networking events. I do a lot of business events. I recently was at Cheltenham Racecourse doing a 2-day business event, just talking and meeting people, business owners, public, everyone. Try and do podcasts when I get invited on them. And I try and promote myself on social media and get out there via social media. I know there's a lot of people now who are on social media, and the presence of, just doing 1 or 2 videos a week, people will see, people will remember, and people will know exactly what you do. So then if they ever come across some money or know someone that's got some money, they go, hold on a sec, I know someone that, could do with that money and does good. And then they'll find my video, or they'll go on the website, or they'll hear this and come to realise, actually, I want to get involved with them.
So tell me, when you're searching for something on the internet, what social media channels are your go-to? So
this is going to show my age now. I've recently got LinkedIn. I never used to use LinkedIn before. And now I can't get off it. It is my go-to hub for business owners and just finding out what's going on. I do use Facebook. I feel like Facebook ads really helped me, and Facebook to reach the non-business people, people that have got pensions or, just remortgaged, is good on Facebook. But most of the time it is LinkedIn where I try to do most of my stuff.
I still feel that 24-year-old on LinkedIn a lot still feels quite unusual, but I might be wrong about that.
No, it is very unusual. Yeah, LinkedIn and WhatsApp is my new things to play with.
Yeah. Harvey, it's been joyous to talk to you.
Thank you.
Let our listeners and viewers know, if they're interested in anything that you've said, how can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at Harvey at hgbpropertydeals.com, and my telephone number is 01373 813 476.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much for having
Thank
me.
you. Thanks, Harvey.
Amazing.
And thank you very much for joining Real PR today. Really hope you enjoyed this chat with Harvey. Now you know where to find him or contact him. He's also, from what he said, on LinkedIn, so you can find him there too. If you want to find out more about me, I'm on LinkedIn as well, or I'm at scottmedia.uk on the website. And also, you can go onto Facebook, Fiona Scott's PR Tribe, and you can join that for free with loads of marketing and PR tips and advice there. Thank you very much and see you again soon.